X-Men casting, the three most important departments when it comes to making these X-Men movies, in my opinion. That is what I'll be getting into today. What's good people? Welcome back to the channel here on Wordy Productions and the silly, nerdy, and wordy podcast. My name is BK, and this is episode 124. I'm going to go beyond the X-Men casting that was recently announced at D23 2026. We know that there will be more casting announcements coming for more X-Men, but what I want to talk about today is not to focus on the actors, although congratulations to all of the actors that have been cast so far in the X-Men movie, as the MCU will be focusing on the mutants moving forward, getting to Secret Wars and beyond. But I'm talking about the filmmaking process. What I want to focus on is the writing and the screenplay, hair, makeup, wardrobe, costume designs, prosthetics, and the visual effects, practical effects, special effects, group them into one category. I think those three departments grouped together are going to be very important when it comes to making these future X-Men movies. Of course, all departments in filmmaking, they're all very important, but these sections, these areas are the ones that I want to focus on when it comes to getting these X-Men on again, and some for the very first time in live action. So I want to start with the first area, which I believe is probably one of the most important, and that is the writing. The writing and the screenplay. So the script and the screenplay, adapting the script into a screenplay. You have to have a good story. You don't have a good story, the movie is not going to work. People aren't going to be connected. People aren't going to come and see it. So I think that's going to be very important. Of course, this has been developed over years. And so I think we're going to get a good story, as it has been mentioned that there are many X-Men stories that have not been told yet on screen in any medium, not in back in the day in the 90s cartoons and not in the 20th Century Fox X-Men movies, and recently that are waiting to be told. So excited to see what they're going to choose, but we have to have the execution of the writing and what they choose and how to go about it. I think that's just going to be a very important thing. One of the most important things is what they choose, what story they choose to tell, and how to go about it, how much to pull from the comics, how much not to pull from the comics to adapt. So we'll see how that goes. But I think the writing and then adapting it to the screenplay is going to be a very important section there. The next area that I want to group together is the hair, the makeup, wardrobe / costume design, and I'm going to throw in prosthetics in there too. I think this is the second most important, at least in my opinion. And the reason for this is because these are superheroes and they have to look right. And the actors that will be playing these superheroes, these heroes and villains, they're going to have the look as close to, or have an updated look, a contemporary look, and get sometimes even comic accurate, some classical looks, maybe updated looks. And so having the right people in these positions, making sure the hair is right, the makeup is right, the prosthetic is right, the superhero outfit is right, whether it's their regular look, their final look, their hero look, their villain look. So I think those are going to be very important people to have in place. And there are going to be a lot of X-Men characters that we have not yet seen on screen, particularly not seen in a live action. The one that came to mind for me was the Mr. Sinister character. And that person has been cast as going to be Adam Driver. But from my understanding, and I believe I'm correct, that character, Mr. Sinister, has never been on screen live action at all, at any point in time, not in any of those 20th Century Fox films, not recently. Of course, the character has been in the X-Men cartoons back in the 90s, and it looks like we're going to get him in season 3 of X-Men 97. But when we see Adam Driver on screen in this 2028 X-Men movie, it'll be the first time that character will be in live action. When you look at what he looks like in the comics and what he looked like in the 1990s cartoon, I think that's going to be an important costume to get in terms of the way he looks. With, I think, all the makeup department is going to be important there. The wardrobe, the costume design, particularly the cape and how it's going to feel and fit for Adam Driver to be in that costume, for him to be able to move in it. Any hero or villain needs to be able to move in that, as well as the stunt double that's going to eventually be in there. So getting the look there, the screen test, the camera test, getting that right, that particular costume, as well as many other heroes and villains that some we have seen will probably get updated looks, some we have never seen in live action that we're going to see for the first time. That's going to be interesting to see, but that is a very important department in terms of getting that right. The color, the hair, the prosthetics, the hours of makeup and things that's going to go on the actor's face when they're sitting in the chair before they go to set. But that particular outfit just really stuck out to me in terms of the Mr. Sinister character. The Mr. Sinister character has been referenced a lot in terms of live action in those Fox movies, but never been seen on camera in terms of the villain itself. But hair, makeup, wardrobe, costume design, getting those right for all of the different heroes and the villains, the mutants in the X-Men world. I think those are going to be very important departments and very important people that are going to be in those roles doing those things. So when we get to see the final product come, I believe, May 2028, those are going to be very important people. At least I'm going to be thinking about that when I see the movie in terms of when that comes out. And then the last thing I want to talk about is going to be the area. It's going to be the visual effects, practical effects, special effects. And that's the last thing, because that's going to be happening in post-production, sometimes going along as the film is being made, because the visual effects is going to be displaying things that can't be done practically, but also displaying the different power sets and the powers of the many, many mutants that we're going to see once we get to the mutant part of the MCU, which is steadily approaching. Being able to display the powers of the different mutants and the look and how it works practically, how much of that is going to be on CG. So doing that and getting it right, so that comes in all of the different visual effects studios. Just to name a few, the one that comes to mind is ILM, Industrial Light Magic, Weta FX, Digital Domain, and there are many, many other digital effects houses. And a lot of the times there are multiple visual effects companies that work on a film to do different parts, different sections of a film. Sometimes it's most of the time it's not just one, maybe one doing the majority and then they hire a few others. So that's going to be important. Again, displaying the different powers of the villains and the heroes of these mutants as we get to these X-Men movies, getting those right and all those people in those roles and the hundreds upon hundreds and thousands of shots it takes to get those visual effects on screen for something that is probably only a few seconds or a minute or so, but takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to do. So having all of those people in those places, the different visual effects houses that they're going to use to have these things, so when we get to see the final movie, we'll get to enjoy and see the powers of these mutants. So excited to see those, the ones that we are familiar with, and then ones we have seen on screen, live action, and the ones we've never seen live action, getting those visual effects correct, and then also the practical effects, and then the visual effects coming on top of that. Practical effects, visual effects, special effects, all of them working together. Excited to see how that's going to be. That's what I thought of when it came to the X-Men casting. I'm excited about the X-Men casting, but in terms of making these films, the 2028 X-Men film and all of the other X-Men related films and the appearances of the X-Men, those are going to be important departments, as well as all of the other ones that I didn't mention. I think just those three areas really stick out to me in terms of how the mutants are going to look and feel and sound, and with their powers, costumes, hair, all of that. Important for the film, for the fan movie experience, important for the actors as well. All of those are very important in addition to everybody else that's going to be working on this film. That is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed that. If you do, subscribe to the channel here on Crude Boy Productions on YouTube and here on the Silly, Nerdy, and Wordy Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Just hit the subscribe button. It is free. I'm also on TikTok at Nerdy Podcaster 124, where the shorter content goes in there, sometimes a little bit longer, but I'm on there as well. Thank you for all of those that are following. And thank you for everyone that is listening and watching audio only. I appreciate you very much that you're listening to my unique ways of talking about film, TV, theater, Broadway, and some business technical things. But I hope all of you guys have good vibes for the rest of your day. And until next time, we will talk soon.